Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach.
Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It's Laura here today. I am solo. And whenever we're planning what we're going to bring to you guys, I try to make it something that's really relevant to me in this moment. I just find it hits harder. It's more authentic. It's better. And so while I could theorize over what you might want to listen to, I just choose the path of when I go to record for you guys, I record what I want to talk about. And so that's what I'm doing today. And it is, the title of this episode is Unshackled, the true meaning of freedom as a nurse coach. When you have talked to as many nurses as I have, and when you've been a professional coach for as long as I have, we have pattern recognition. And I know that if you're listening to this right now, that freedom is likely a value of yours. And freedom is something that you desire more of. This episode's going to be all about what freedom means to me, what I see as freedom in the nurse coach world. And my hopes is that when you're done listening to this today, A, you already feel more free, and B, you have a plan to create more freedom in your life. And so I want to talk about moments of my nursing career where freedom was being trespassed against. And here's another thing I want to say. This episode could be very triggering. I am not going to try to be politically correct here. I'm going to share how I felt, just unfiltered. And it is not my intention to make anybody feel bad. It is not that I am diminishing the need to have nurses working in the hospital at shifts 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to save lives. What I am going to suggest here is that for some of us, that is not the correct path. For some human beings, it is not correct for us to live our entire lives working shifts. And that doesn't mean that it's not correct for everybody. Okay. That's my disclaimer here. That's the way I'm going to create my own safety. So I'm going to just share my personal experience. There's a few times in my nursing career where the lack of freedom, it wasn't an annoyance. It wasn't me not wanting to work hard. I'm an extremely hard worker. So it's really not me being lazy or not wanting to work hard. It was realizing that this career I had chosen and this life that I had was trespassing against me in a way that I knew I couldn't do long term. And so I'm going to share just one story. It was, I believe it was 2017. And so my kids were so small. They were so cute. My kids were born in 2014, 2015. So they were 2 and 3 at the time. My husband was a fire captain in the Bay Area in California. We had gone through an awful fire season. If you guys know about California fires, they're awful. And he had gone out onto a fire and he was gone for 2 weeks. Now, this fire was terrible. And this fire was threatening specific Kaiser hospitals. So at the time I worked for Kaiser. We had just moved to the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas. And so I was commuting into Sacramento to work. And my husband was closer to the fires, Santa Rosa area. And at that time, like hospitals were being shut down. This was like a major emergency. The state was in a state of emergency. My husband didn't have a choice, really. Like, I guess he could have said, I'm sorry, I can't go save lives and fight fires because my wife has a few shifts that she can't get covered. But we decided to send him to the fires for 2 weeks. And I had just moved to the foothills. I had a sister who was a nurse also working shifts. And then I had my parents who lived in the Bay Area. And long story short, I didn't have daycare for every single shift that I had. And I couldn't find it. It was like too short of notice. I could work some shifts, but I think there was 2 shifts in that 2-week period that I was unable to find daycare for my 2 and 3-year-olds. Now we didn't have them I had a nanny, I had family, and we worked shifts around my husband and my schedule. So in a normal week, we always had it figured out, but I couldn't figure it out on short notice. And I certainly wasn't going to try to hire somebody to watch my kids for a shift within 24 hours. So I had to call in. So I was working as a call center nurse, and I had to call in and I kind of, said what happened. And when I got to my next shift, when I had daycare, I was written up. And so I was written up for something that was out of my control. And I think in that moment, I knew it was the beginning of the end. It was like I was just in an untenable situation. And so I had an employer that, in a state of emergency, with my husband, who's a firefighter, who's literally fighting a fire that's trying to save one of the hospitals of the system that I worked for, I was written up for doing something wrong. And I knew that that wasn't going to fly. And I own a business. I understand the importance of having nurses and shift workers and employees that come to work when they say they're going to come to work. But I also know that there will be times where said people can't make it. And this was one of those times. And the reason why I was written up is because I had to miss 2 shifts in 2 weeks. It wasn't because of any other reason. It was like so transparent. It was like, I have exhausted all my resources. I had like, I don't know, 48 hours to figure it out. Yeah, I was written up. That was one of the first moments I realized that I didn't want that to happen again, that I didn't want to live a life structured in a way where I would feel guilty and concerned and have stress if my husband was gone on a fire and I couldn't make it to my shift. It wasn't going to work for me. The next kind of trespassing against my freedom is when I was a new nurse, and I believe we had a family vacation that we had planned for a long time, and I was not going to get the time off for it. And there was like nothing that I could do to get the time off for it. And I forget the exact circumstances around this, you guys. I'm pretty sure I just had too low of seniority. There was something. And I just remember thinking, my God, I'm going to miss out on this vacation of a lifetime that's already been pre-planned because of this. And so those two things, they really bothered me. Freedom's really important to me. So that's freedom of time, freedom of how a human being spends their time, freedom for the autonomy to decide what is most important in your life in particular moments. And if you work full time as a W-2 nurse, you know that we don't have that. We don't have freedom of time. And for some that works and for some that doesn't. And for some it doesn't work, but we're trying to make it work. And that's primarily who I'm speaking to when I'm speaking to you guys today. The next is freedom to help human beings the way that I want to help them. I've told this story so many times, but I had a health journey where I was very ill for 3 years and went to every doctor in my system. And at the end of 3 years, and God knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars of appointments and scans and tests, and everything was normal. And my primary care doctor told me, Laura, it's all in your head. This is functional pain. It's your brain's just making it up. There's nothing we can do for you. You need to just keep going to the psychiatrist. I realized that if I wanted to save my own life, I was going to have to figure out what was wrong with me. Went to a naturopathic doctor. Within 16 weeks. I was off all my medications. I was 80% symptom free, the best I had felt in years. And I remember in that moment thinking, my God, I became a nurse to heal people. And yet nurses in the conventional medicine model, we have all these limitations. And I struggled with that. And then, of course, God has jokes. And I went to sign into a shift at the call center, and I had call back to back with women in their 30s with the same symptoms, the constellation of symptoms that I had. And I could see the notes in their charts of like pain seeking, functional pain, like all the same stuff. Essentially, we don't know what's wrong. And so we're going to put these women in this bucket that are dismissed and we don't help. And I remember being on those calls, and they were like, one was tearful and she's like, I don't know what I need to do. Like, should I just go to the ER? But the last time I went to the ER with all this pain, they like treated me badly. And I knew a path that she could take to start feeling better because I was feeling better. And yet if I told her, and I think I might have on this one said something, I don't remember what I said. I probably said something like, if I were you, I would make this next appointment. And have you tried X, Y, and Z? That's something you could research on your own. And my heart sank after I got off that call because I realized I'd likely be fired if that call was screened and listened to. And then I had another call that was similar and another call that was similar. And I realized, my God, I don't have the freedom to help humans. So I have information that I know could help, and I am unable to help or share this information in this current role. That was the worst feeling of a lack of freedom to spend time with people that needed healing. And I know for a lot of you, you're longing to feel more fulfilled, right? And nurse coaching gives you that opportunity. The freedom to design your practice, your services, whatever price you want, how long you want those sessions to be, how often, if you want to have communication with your clients in between it, you have freedom in how you help human beings. And we have infinite freedom in this role. I cannot believe how much autonomy we can have under our license in this role. We truly are, can have a private practice and very autonomous. And there is very little that we can't do. There are ways to stay in scope and to have the same impact that you desire to have without needing to be a doctor or a DNP. Of course, we can't prescribe. Of course, we can't diagnose. There's things we know we can't do, and we don't do those things under any circumstance. But we can educate and we can point people towards external evidence-based resources that can help them. That is within our scope. And so if you have questions about this, I answer private questions about this all the time, especially with nurse coaches that want to have a functional medicine approach or have some health approaches to their practice. Yes, you can. And you can stay in scope, you can do it safely, and you can make such a big difference in your clients' lives. So that is the freedom to help humans the way that you want. And then the third is money freedom. Now, I want to just say one thing about money. More money doesn't give you money freedom at all. It just doesn't. And so a lot of times money freedom, financial freedom, it's funny. I've done so many workshops on this, and I'll ask somebody, how much money would you need to have in the bank to feel free? Or how much money per month would you need to make to feel free? And they'll have an arbitrary amount of money. And it's so interesting because nothing would really change. But it's a feeling. And so financial freedom to me, I define it very granularly. Financial freedom to me is going to the grocery store and buying whatever I want, never worrying about cost. If I want this over this, I'm not checking prices to see if one is 30 cents less or 30 cents more. Financial freedom to me is hiring people to help me do things that I don't want to do. That means having a house cleaner. That means I've had personal assistants, having people help us with our yard, with our farm, hiring contractors. Financial freedom is being able to be sitting in church and the church has a need or the community has a need. And I can look at Evan and be like, should we just give him $1,000 today? And to send $1,000 with my phone because spiritually I felt compelled to, and I can. That's freedom. Freedom is meeting somebody new, them having a really exciting project, and you having the time and or resources to support them. Financial freedom to me is the ability to make the biggest impact that you want in the world and not be constrained by resources. Financial freedom to me is not making it 100% easy for my kids in their future, but that if they wanted to go to a college and everything looked like it was a good place for them to be, that there wouldn't be a barrier and that they wouldn't go into debt. Financial freedom to me is to be able to help to take care of my aging parents or my aging in-laws. So I know for a lot of you, you desire financial freedom. And what is difficult about achieving financial freedom when you work a W-2 job in today's economy is the only way to have more input is for you to have more output. So a lot of you will work overtime or extra jobs to save up for something. So you sacrifice all of your time freedom for a momentary feeling of financial freedom. And then your whole life's like a balance between should I do more or should I do less? Or should I work more or should I work less? Or should I save more or should I save less? And even as I say that, I feel the tension. I've met a few nurses who just always spent less than they made. They were just born to be incredible W-2 managers of money, and they have financial freedom. There's just the way that they live. They feel very free. If that's you, hats off to you. Like I just never had that. I love when I meet people like that as well. But most nurses, it doesn't matter if you're making $100 an hour as a nurse, you're living almost paycheck to paycheck. And there's just this feeling of almost a feeling of impending doom, because in your mind, you think, until I retire, my week is going to look some version of this. And that doesn't feel like you have freedom. So I just talked about time freedom, financial freedom, and the freedom to help human beings as you want. And nurse coaching solves all three, and not overnight. But here's the thing. If you choose to open a nurse coaching practice, a private practice, if you invest in learning how to provide the skill, you invest in yourself to become the human being that you want to be, you invest the time in the skill just to put in the reps so that you really have a sense of who you are. And for those of you who are new here, that is about 130 to 150 hours total coaching. You do 60 in certifications. That is 70 to 90 hours post-certification. That's paying your dues. Don't expect anything magical. Don't expect more freedom before that. I want to just make that stipulation. Not that wonderful things can't happen before that happens, but I want you, your intention is just to pay your dues, and your dues are 130 to 150 hours. They can be paid or they can be free. And then after that, the skill set's kind of solidified. Your identity is beginning to change. Then you invest in learning about how to run your practice, your business. So let's say this journey, I'm going to be really overly dramatic here. Let's say it is 36 months. Let's just say it would take you 3 years, which is not typical. But let's just say you're giving yourself 3 years to invest in a new way of being a nurse, so that after 36 months, you have increased time freedom, increased financial freedom, and you have the freedom to help human beings in the way that the universe or God wants you to. I am not talking about little fulfillment. I am talking about goosebumps, tears in your eyes, freaking fulfillment. The freedom to fully express who you are and the gifts that you have inside of you. That's what I'm talking about. Nurse coaching gives this to you. More freedom in all three areas gives you the ability to amplify your purpose in the world. Lack of freedom constrains us. Many of you want freedom because you want to be able to be more involved in your children's lives. Some of you want more freedom because you want to help your parents, your aging parents. Some of you have special needs children, and you have to have good health insurance, and you have to have money because there's certain treatments that you want to do. And you're constantly deciding, do I need to work to pay for it, or can I spend more time with them? And you're constantly in this rub between the two polarities. And while nurse coaching is not it's just not a magic pill. Nothing wonderful is. Nothing wonderful comes from health from a magic pill. Usually, it usually takes time and effort over time and intentionality. But if you could somehow wrap your mind around this, kind of like going to becoming a doctorate of nursing practice, becoming an NP. Let's say that you knew, or a CRNA. Let's say you decided, I'm going to invest 3 years of my life and money into this thing that makes me have more freedom. If you can wrap your mind around that, then everything that you get before the end of that 3-year period of time, it truly is just extra. It's just extra. It's just an extra blessing. It's just an extra dopamine hit. I think when we have too short of a time horizon, we're constantly feeling like, oh, this is not working, or I'm not good at this, or I've been doing this for 7 months. Why haven't I been able to quit my job yet? Don't do that to yourself. There's 1,000 ways that this works. And here's the other thing. The emotional freedom, the relational freedom, the freedom to express yourself. Those are other freedoms that we don't talk about much, the less tangible freedoms. But there's a version of you that is more free. And he or she or they are able to go out into the world and look people in the eye and say what's true for them and not feel fear. They are able to talk to doctors at work in a way that they haven't been able to talk to doctors at work before. They are able to lead when they've never seen themselves as a leader. They are able to parent in a way that breaks free from the patterns of their own childhood. They are able to enhance their primary relationships or leave the primary relationship that they secretly know they need to leave. The nature of what you learn in nurse coaching is self-development, period. You are investing in yourself so that you are an appreciating asset that is able to solve problems in the world at such a scale that you are paid well for it. You could be an author. You could host 4 live events per year. There's all these things that you could be, that you know you could be. And when you're not financially free, when you're not time free, and when you're not emotionally free, those aren't possible for you, right? It's just, you can't do them. When would you fit it in? You're living paycheck to paycheck. When would you fit in writing a book and launching a book or like planning an event? Like these things, they come over time. These are the fruits of the time that you invest in yourself when you go into nurse coach training. Now, here's another really cool thing that I don't talk about enough. And we teach it in our courses, but every nurse should have a home-based business. Everybody. I mean, everybody should have a home-based business. It doesn't take a lot of education either. You could, using YouTube and ChatGPT, spend 20 to 30 hours learning about home-based businesses, pick one and launch one, and you would be saving 10% on your taxes every year. And so if you're a nurse making 6 figures, if you invest 20 to 30 hours, you will make $10,000 more per year for the rest of your life. I don't know, we could do the math on that. All right, let's say 20 hours equals 10,000. Let me do my math here. Oh, it's 500 an hour. If you want to make 500 an hour this year, spend 20 to 30 hours figuring out how to create a home-based business. And what that means is you have a sole proprietorship, you have an LLC, you have a business bank account, you have a business license, you have an entity, and that entity provides a service or sells a product. Now in nurse coaching, we sell our services. And the first 2 years of a home-based business and of a startup, the IRS expects it to be a loss. That is normal. Businesses start with a loss and then they become profitable. And so for 2 years, you could have a home-based business where you write off a part of your home, a home office write-off. You could be writing off parts of your travel, any book that you read, computers that you buy, your internet, your phone, any courses that you take, any startup costs that you incur. Those will be a loss. And that loss will help lower your tax liability. Now, eventually you want a business to be profitable, but if you always have a home-based business, you're going to be paying less taxes. And so I'm a big advocate for that. I wish I learned that in high school. I wish I learned that early on. It's something that I wish that we were all more financially literate about, but tax law is written for entrepreneurs. It's not written for W-2 earners. And it's certainly not, nurses really fall into this category of W-2 earners where we kind of are screwed compared to everybody else. We make too much to get any tax breaks and we make too little. I mean, we're just, the most taxed part of the population. But besides that, if you are able to spend 20 to 30 hours investing in learning how to create a home-based business, we think nurse coach practices are a wonderful version of this. This is something you can teach your kids. This is something you'll know forever. This is something you could help a fellow nurse figure out. There are 1,000 paths to increase your freedom that you currently have right now in every area that you desire. The only requirement is courage. And it can feel like a big risk to make a change, but it's so low risk. It's almost laughable, especially a nurse coach business is so low risk. Now we've graduated one cohort and we're in the middle of another cohort of Nurse Life Coach Academy. And of course, we've been business mentors for so many other nurses. And 1/2 of our students have earned money as a nurse coach in their business in the first 3 months. That's wild. And by the way, it's not because of marketing or like some glamorous campaign. It's they went and helped humans for free and then said humans didn't want it to end and said, hey, I don't like what is it going to cost? I don't want this to end. What you provide is so valuable, even though you've only been doing it for 2 to 3, 4 months, that I would like to pay you weekly, or I'd like to pay you $1,000, or I'd like to pay you $3,000 to keep being my coach because I find such value in the service that you provide. And I'm smiling right now. If you guys are watching my video, I'm smiling right now because that makes me so happy. Why does this make me happy? Because it increases the freedom of everybody that you help too. So not only are you increasing the freedom in your life with time, finances, emotional, but then the service that you provide spreads that. And so nurse coaches are purveyors of freedom. And freedom is one of the top values of almost everybody that I have a call with. And if you're listening to this, I know freedom is likely a value of yours. All right. This is super preachy. I'm going to get a little bit more granular before we end. We kind of talked about the freedom of time, the financial freedom, the freedom to be yourself. You don't have to silence your intuition or your passion for holistic healing. And then freedom to make a bigger impact, to transform humans' lives beyond symptom management. I believe nurses are meant to do more than to manage symptoms. I think we're more. Who else would do it? We know the world needs it. What is required to have more freedom? You got to change your mindset. The mindset shift is required to step into freedom. It usually takes a little bit of courage. It feels like you're stepping into the unknown. Friends and family may not understand it because you have such a good paying job. Why are you trying to rock the boat? Especially if you're an advanced practice RN, then people really don't understand it. They're like, you went to all this school, you're an NP or you're a CRNA or you're a nurse midwife or you're the dean of a nursing school. Like you should be happy. You've risen to the top and you're secretly unhappy. The next thing is the initial hustle, the initial temporary commitment. We're going to call it 36 months. The initial 36-month period of time where you may feel like you have a little less freedom as you are investing in yourself and you're creating a vehicle to have more. I find that that's not how it actually feels because when you're tapped into something that's going to bring you relief, let's say you're working full time and let's say you start your certification, you start your practice, and even though on paper you have less hours, you feel better because now there's a solution. There's a means to the end. And many of you want to keep working in the hospital part-time, but you want to do this part-time as well. And so this expands freedom, even though you're in the initial hustle phase or the phase of investing in yourself. And then the courage to break away from something that's more traditional, the courage to change your mind, the courage to tell your husband or your wife about it, the courage to share it with family and friends, the courage to overcome the feelings of being an imposter that are totally normal. And then what's the payoff? The payoff is a career that aligns with your passion, your autonomy, your purpose, and the payoff increases your time freedom and financial freedom. Period. That is the payoff. It's what you get. That is at the second part of the equation. To have what we want to have, we can't keep doing what we've always been doing. And it takes courage to stop doing what we've always done. All right. So I do have a homework assignment for all of you listening today. I want you to visualize your ideal week. If you had time freedom, financial freedom, and that freedom to make the biggest impact that you want in the world, what would your week look like? What would it look like? After I'm done recording this, I'm a little bit over on time. It is 8:00 in the morning on a Thursday. I homeschool my kids at the farm. I'm going to go in and we're going to spend 2 to 3 hours on their homeschool today. And so I get to do that. I get to go spend 3 hours. They're in their pajamas right now. I just made them breakfast. I came in to record this. I said, Mommy's going to go record her podcast and then I'll be in and we'll get all your schoolwork done. I love that. Now, I don't know if my daughter loves it. My son loves it. TBD on my daughter. But I love it. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm like doing their schoolwork with them at the table and making them their lunch and then going outside with them on the farm. And I know I can't get this time back with them. They are 9 and 10 when I'm recording this. And sending them to school 5 days a week with extracurriculars and me working full time, like that wasn't tenable to me. I knew that when they were older, I would look back and be like, damn, I couldn't have been more courageous. And let all that time slip away. And like, I knew we could do something more or better. And so when you really visualize what you want your week to look like once you're brave enough to even say, this is what I want it to look like this. I want it to feel like this. And dare I say, I believe that this is possible. As soon as you can do that, it's already in motion. You've started. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you've visualized it, once you've contemplated it, especially if you really do this exercise well, you will never unsee that. Let yourself feel how it feels. Okay. And then here's the coachy part. Can you commit to one action? Like to have that week look and feel that way. What does it require from you? What decision does it make from you to make today? What can you do today to start walking towards that? And if you need any help, message us, email us, text us. Shelby and I, yes, we charge for our services, but if we're being totally honest, if we both won the lottery and we never needed to earn any money again, we'd probably be doing this for free. So you're not going to bother us. If we can help you craft a plan or take one single action to step towards more freedom, it will make the world a better place. We want to be part of that. We are big purveyors of freedom. All right, guys. I hope this got you jazzed up today. If you have any questions, reach out. And I love you all. Have a great rest of your day.